Webster, and I am a freshman this year at the University of Delaware studying psychology. For my project, I was honored to learn about the life of Charles Mitchell, who is a dear family friend and my dad's best friend. And in this video, you'll watch an interview my dad and I and Chuck had learning about his college years, his adolescence, his early years, and his adulthood through such significant periods of Black history in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. And I just wanted to give a big thank you to Chuck for opening up about his past, which was a privilege to listen to. Enjoy. Yeah. So, how do you guys know each other? How did you guys meet?
We met in college in the same dorm. We were in the same dorm floor and the same dorm. And we met as freshmen, 18 years of age.
Summer of 65.
Yep, long time ago. And we have remained friends ever since. And
I know.
Amen.
Which is why you are my niece, not by blood, but by love. So
I love, always. Yep.
I was born in Los Angeles, California. I grew up during my years as a child and young adult in East Los Angeles for about 3 years and South Los Angeles for the remainder of those years. When we grew up, we knew we weren't rich, but we never thought we were poor. I mean, we had food, we had clothes, and we enjoyed the people around us. When I went to Manual Arts High School, I had gone there from George Washington Carver Junior High School. I was an honor student there, and when I went to Manual Arts, after the first week of school, the teacher came to me and said, "Are you planning on going to college?" And I said, "Yes," because I was, and at that time would have been the first member in the history of my family to go to college and graduate from college. I was only the second member to get a high school diploma. So they said, "Okay, we're going to switch you to AE classes, which are academically enriched classes. And in those classes, you took classes like physics and math and calculus and algebra 3 and biology that prepared you for the requirements for college, primarily the University of California colleges." At a school that was 90% Black, my classmates in those classes were about 70% Asian. So my classmates in most of my classes that I took were Asian. They were the top 4 smartest people in our school. The most fun as far as growing up as a young man were the friends that we had in the neighborhood and my experiences in the Boyscouts of America and the Sea Explorers organization. That was one of the highlights of my young life because I was learning, I was advancing. That was where I learned how to cook and how to clean and how to take care of things. One of the things also that was very positive about my Boy Scout unit was it was one of the largest Boy Scout units, Black Boy Scout units in South Los Angeles. We had our meetings on Friday evening from 6:30 to 9 p.m. And at that time, there was a curfew for anybody under the age of 16 or 18. And I remember one Friday night, it was after 9 o'clock. The curfew began at 9, and we were walking down the street, and a police car pulled up. It was about 3 or 4 of us walking home. We weren't in uniform. It wasn't a uniform night. The police rolled over, flying their light on us, and said, "Hey, you guys know there's a curfew?" We said, "Yes." Said, "Well, where are you going?" "We're going home." "Where are you coming from?" We said, "Boy Scout meeting." And I remember this to this day. The policeman said, "Are you part of Mr. Scott's troop?" We said, "Yes." And he says, "Be safe and go home." That was another positive experience of the Boy Scout. Mr. Scott had informed the police about his boys that were coming on Friday after curfew so that they knew not to hassle us. My very first incident experience with racism was, I think I was 11 or 12. My scout unit would would have an annual hike where we hiked from South Los Angeles to Griffith Park. We would hike there to satisfy our hiking merit badge. We would camp out overnight. Then the next morning we would come down, have a picnic, and the parents would come and pick up the children. Well, one Saturday, we were there, and Mr. Scott, who was the scoutmaster, took us down to the swimming pool right at the beginning of Griffith Park. And we said, "Are we going to, they're not going to let us in there." And he said, "No, no." I don't know what he said to the person who was running the park, but he paid our way in. We went into the locker room, got put on our trunks, came out to the pool. And I remember jumping in the water and seeing this little white girl, about 8 or 9 years old, scream like somebody had stabbed her. And parents grabbing their children and pulling them out the pool and running over to the side. And we're sitting there in the shallow end going, "What in the world?" And Mr. Scott says, "Okay, come on, let's go." We got out the pool, and got put on our clothes, walked out. He says, "I'm never coming here again. I'm sorry I put you guys through this." And so that was my first real incident. But they cleared the pool. They snatched the children up, and I think that kind of prepared me for my attitude about accepting people as people. You know, how they treat me is how I respond to them, rather than formulating and saying, "Oh no, because of this person, or what they look like, or what they religion they have, or where they live, or what." Not forming that basis, and I think that attitude that it comes from my mother, who always was taught us to be colorblind. I remember my senior year in high school when they had the awards assembly and they announced who was getting scholarships. They announced my name as getting a scholarship to UCLA, and I remember the reaction from all of the other students to see me, a black man, getting a scholarship to UCLA, which was it was a school for smart people. For me, who was only known for being a track runner, to have that, and it wasn't an athletic scholarship; it was an academic scholarship. I treasure all of my experiences at UCLA. They developed me as a person. They provided me with experiences that I hadn't had before in all areas of life. I went to UCLA thanks to the Educational Opportunities Program, EOP. But it was a work study scholarship in which I was required to work all 4 years because at that time, the flunk out rate for freshmen at UCLA was like 50%. So each year, there was the percentage of scholarship increase and the percentage of loan decrease. So that by the time I was a senior, it was all 100% scholarship. It was a good time because I was independent on my own, living on campus, and I, and working, I learned how to budget because you were paid once a month. So you really had to budget your little money. Got a call in July of 1965, and they said, "We have a position open if you want to start working now." And I had been working as a locker attendant in a swimming pool, making $1.25 an hour, and they were paying $2.80 an hour. So immediately I said, "Okay," and I don't mind catching the bus and going there. Um, I worked all 4 years in the same place, the audiovisual department of the campus. And one of the things that it allowed me to do was not only to learn the responsibilities of working, but It educated me in audiovisual working equipment, and I was able to learn the campus so that as a freshman, I wasn't one of the ones running around getting lost. I knew what was at the campus, the buildings, and it made adjusting a lot easier for me, which was really nice because I didn't have a car or anything, and I used to get around the campus on their little scooters. As far as incidents about racism, yeah, yeah, you you can't be black without having it at different levels. I would say that I didn't have it on campus. I didn't have it among the students, but I remember there used to be a muffler and tire place called Rayco, and I had my little '57 Chevy, and I needed some tires, so I said I'll go to Rayco. You know, they've got the big name on TV, and I'll get me some tires. So I walked into Rayco, and I didn't see anyone. I said, hello, hello, is anyone here? And I waited and waited about 4 or 5 minutes, and no one came out. Well, while I was waiting, an elderly Caucasian couple came in, and all of a sudden this guy appears, this white man. And he goes and talks to them, and they wanted their mufflers done. And he said, oh, bring your car right around here. And then he went in the back. And I said, excuse me, hello, hello, hello. He never came out. So after about 10 minutes, I said, okay, all right. Went on, got in my car. And I think I went to a Chevron station or something like that. In 1965, to get to UCLA, I would take 3 buses from South Los Angeles. At that time, I was living on Florence and Hoover, and it was about less than 2 miles from Watts. And so in August of 1965, when the Watts Riots broke out, it was something that at that time at 18, I wasn't surprised because of the, I'll say, relationship, for lack of a better word, with law enforcement at that time was not the best between Black people and the police. There were known incidences of people being mistreated by the police and never having to suffer consequences. Personal incidents that happened was I was going home after curfew, of course, and a Jeep pulled up with about 4 National Guardsmen in there pointing their guns at me. What was I doing out here? Where was I coming from? And when I told them I was coming from UCLA, they didn't believe me. Even though at that time, I couldn't really prove it because school hadn't started yet. Mm-hmm. But what I did have was I had one of the little booklets from my job that said UCLA ACF, and I showed them that. And they said, okay, go home. You're not supposed to be out here. Get out of there. You go college boy, was what they kind of said. And I remember getting off the bus and seeing smoke all in the air, remnants of fire, and the streets being completely empty. I remember it reminded me of the horror movie where just before the monster comes, they've evacuated the town and there's nothing there. That's the way those streets looked. And in walking down those streets, the only sounds that I heard were gunshots and police sirens walking down that street. I remember walking home, seeing department stores where I used to shop on fire, S&H Press and different other stores on fire, burning, and smelling that smoke and hearing the gunshots and being anxious to get home as soon as possible. And when I got home, it was kind of a scary situation, even though, like I said, I wasn't shocked by the incidents. But what surprised me was the reaction, how it multiplied in anger, pent up anger from Black people, from what had been years and years of a bad relationship with law enforcement. I did not participate in it, even though I was invited a few times. I remember going out the back of my house and seeing people running down the alleyway carrying televisions and record players, pieces of furniture from stores that they had rioted on. And my mother was saying that no, don't don't get involved. And I told her no, don't worry, I'm not going to get involved. They did have black policemen. I did see one evening when I was coming, that evening I was describing, coming down Central Avenue, um, that there were a couple of black officers there, and the look on their faces was they were in conflict uh, because I would think personally they understood. They did not like it, and they probably were hopeful that I don't have to shoot somebody I know. I don't have to hurt somebody that I'm acquainted with. You know, I hope I don't run in or have to do something to somebody that of my people or that I know. That was a scary situation, and when it finally resolved itself, um, the relationships that should have grown maybe better did not really. At certain levels, they did. Um, in fact, that the black leaders talked over with the mayor at the time and different organizations about the attitude of policemen. But as we see now, the attitude of policemen, as far as that concerned, their individual attitudes were not as well surrounded as what they had done in their training. And I don't think the training was one that went into the whole history of what caused that, and that was an opportunity missed as far as I was thinking at that time. Um, and it's been proven that it was missed from incidents of today. Well, UCLA was probably one of the most memorable experiences of my whole lifetime. For and for all for positive reasons. That's the good thing. They were all positive reasons. From the time I got to this huge campus, where the the friends that I grew up with, that were in the Boy Scouts with me, I remember them getting together when I would come home on the weekends, and they would all come to my mother's house to see how I was doing. And I remember, even though they were in different experiences of their life, experimenting with different things, I remember them not giving me a cigarette, not giving me a drink, and not giving me any drugs. Because they said, we want you to make it. They would say, no, you're going to make it. You're going to be the one that's going to make it. And it was nice to have that when you're growing up. So when I got to UCLA and I had been a track runner, not a great track runner, it was better than average maybe. Uh, but I saw Coach Bush and I asked him, hey, is there any way I could try out for the track team, the freshman track team? And he said, where'd you come from school from? And I said, Manual Arts. And he said, and what did you run there? I said, the half mile. He says, okay, we have time trials on Wednesday. So I went there at about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And he says, okay, I had to put my tennis shoes on, some shorts, and did the time trial. And at the end of the race, he looked down at my feet and said, don't you have any track shoes? I said, no. He said, well, go into Polly, tell Ducky Drake to give you some track shoes and a track uniform. And we have practices at 3. That's how I made the team. That's how, just a walk on, a true walk on.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and that experience of being with these world-class athletes, these people, these names I've read, I'm actually right on the field with, talking to and working out with, was just an amazing experience. On the track team, there were only 4 blacks and 1 Nigerian, Bernard Okoye. Uh, the varsity track athletes were Ron Copeland and Norm Jackson. Freshman class was only myself and the young man who was the California State Sprint champion, Harold Busby. We were the only two blacks. There was only the four of us there. What was ironic was on the USC track team, there were only three blacks on that whole team. The blacks who were athletes knew each other because there weren't that many of us, and we would socialize with each other. We would hang out sometimes. We would go to dorm dances and kind of commingle together. The people I met on the team were extremely nice. I mean, it wasn't like you were a walk-on and we're scholarship. No, it's just everybody was a member of the team. And when we would meet and have workouts, everybody cheered for you. I remember running the race and having all the varsity distance runners just running around the track saying, go, 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 just cheering you on, even though I was just a walk-on freshman. And that was during that time as a UCLA athlete. What was amazing was to see the reaction of people, whether we were going into the Coliseum or going into an airport. It would resemble the parting of the Red Sea, where people would just step to the side and all you could hear was, look, UCLA, UCLA. And parents would hold up their children, look, that's UCLA, that's UCLA. That is just amazing. I had never experienced anything like that, where you were so recognized just for being UCLA. And I always remember that. It really, really touched me. So,
Oh, wow.
I told my son about that because he always said, what was it like, to play sports and stuff? I said, that's what I remember. A boy from South LA, walking on and getting that type of recognition during that time was unforgettable.